Good morning, everyone. Someone once said, treat your friends like expensive paintings. Always put them in a good light. We're learning about Abraham, Avram Avinu, our patriarch Abraham, the first Jew. And in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, our rabbis say we should all be disciples of Abraham and possess the quality that he possessed, which was ayin tova, to have a good eye, to see the good in others. But the question is, we have two eyes, not one eye. So why does it say have a good eye? It should say have good eyes, einayim tovot. Well, in this week's past Torah portion, we read about Abraham negotiating with God to save the wicked inhabitants of the city of Sodom. And Abraham says, if I could find 50 righteous people, will you spare the cities? And God says, yes, and he can't find 50. So he says, what about 45, and then 40, and then 30, and then 20? And then he says, what's if I find 10? And he couldn't find 10, and that's when God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. But the question is, when you do a negotiations, you usually start with a low price. And then, if the person doesn't agree, you go higher and higher. You don't start with a high price and then go down. You offer the lowest price. So why does Abraham start with 50 and then go to 40 and 30 and 20 and 10? Why didn't he start with 10 and say, God, if I could find 10 righteous people? And if God says no, then he'll go to offer 20 or offer 30. It's not the normal way to negotiate, to start high and go low. You usually start low and then increase if the person doesn't accept your offer. And the answer is that Abraham had a good eye. And therefore he said, surely I can find 50 righteous people. Even amongst the wicked people of Sodom, there must be at least 50 good people. And that's why he offered a higher number, because he was certain that he would be able to find that many righteous people, because Abraham always saw the good in others. And this is one of the explanations why it says a good eye versus good eyes. Because you know what? There's always good and bad in everyone. And to be like Abraham, it means that sometimes you have to close one eye and only look with one eye. Because if you look with both eyes, you'll see the bad. You have to turn a blind eye to the negative and only focus on the positive. It's an amazing story told about this wealthy Jew who was a great Torah scholar who was very generous. And back in Europe, he would always loan money or give charity to people. And one time, the poor tailor, Zalman the tailor, came to him and said, my daughter needs to get married. Can you loan me 5,000 ruble? And he said, sure, I'll be happy to. And he loaned him the money. A couple of months later, Zalman the tailor comes to repay the loan. And this great Torah scholar, generous man, was studying Torah. His name was Rabbi Shmuel. And he hands him an envelope as he's studying to repay the loan. Rabbi Shmuel was so busy learning, he said, thank you, and he put the envelope in the Talmud amongst the pages and kept on learning. And he was so engrossed in learning that when he finished, he forgot about the envelope, closed the book, put it back on the bookshelf. A couple of months later, he's going through his ledger and he sees Zalman the tailor still owes him the money. So he goes to him and he says, I'm here to collect the loan. He says, I paid you. He says, I don't recall. And he really didn't recall because he was so preoccupied in his learning, he didn't know. So he couldn't prove that he had loaned him the money or that he had repaid, so he had to forfeit the loan. If you say you paid me, I don't recall, but so be it. Well, word got out that Zalman the tailor denied that Shmuel loaned him the money, or that he repaid him when Shmuel says he didn't repay him, and everyone took the side of Shmuel, and they started to ostracize this Zalman the tailor, and things got so bad for him, his business turned so bad, they had to move out of town. A number of years later, one day, Reb Shmuel is studying that same volume of Talmud, and he comes across the envelope with the money in it from Zalman the tailor. And he realizes that he had made a terrible mistake and forgotten that he paid him back. So he goes to find Zalman the tailor, only to discover that Zalman already moved out of the area because things got so bad that he moved his family away. Traveled to where his family was. And he said, Zalman, I realize I owe you a terrible apology. Please come back to town. I'll set you back up in business. I want to make amends. And Zalman said, it's too late. People think I'm a thief, I'm a liar. Nobody's going to be my friend anymore. No one's going to trust me. And even if you say the story, what happened, they'll think you're just being kind. And Shmuel said, I have to be able to make this up to you. He said, I have an idea. You have a son, I have a daughter. Let's introduce them to one another. And if they get married, everyone will know that you're an honest man because I'm letting my daughter marry your son. And that's what happened. They introduced their children. They got married. He brought Zalman back to town, and everyone realized that Shmuel made a mistake and Zalman was an honest man. The worst thing we can do is judge people falsely and correctly, see them in a negative light. Like Abraham, we should always strive to see the positive and the good in others. And yes, have a good eye means that sometimes you could only look with one eye because you have to turn the blind eye to what is not positive. Have a wonderful day.